Welcome to the Business of Style podcast with me, your host, Louisa Gabriel. I'm a personal stylist and image strategist who grew a successful six-figure business, and now I'm educating and empowering other personal stylists and image professionals just like you to do the same. So please keep listening to hear the lessons I've learned and the strategies I've used along the way that are guaranteed to take your personal styling career from side hustle to six figures too. Welcome back to the Business of Style podcast. I'm so glad you're here today because we're going to be talking about something that almost every stylist experiences at some point, but very few people admit to. That feeling where you wake up and think, I'm just not excited about my business anymore. And maybe it is time for me to think about moving on. Maybe you're procrastinating about creating your social media posts. Maybe client appointments feel like just another task to tick off and you really don't want to go. Maybe you've even caught yourself wondering whether you've chosen the wrong career altogether. If that's where you are today, I want you to know something. Before you decide your business isn't for you, before you convince yourself that styling or color analysis or image consulting isn't the career you thought it would be, let's investigate what's really going on. Because in many cases, it isn't your business that's the problem, it's something underneath it. So today's episode is all about identifying what's actually causing those business blues, and more importantly, how to rediscover that passion that made you start this journey in the first place. So let's dive into it. The first thing is don't make big decisions during small seasons. So, whenever we lose enthusiasm for something, our instinct is often to make dramatic changes. I should quit. I should start over. I need a completely different career. But those thoughts usually come before we've actually identified what the real problem is. So imagine your check engine light comes on in your car. You wouldn't immediately get a whole new car. You'd find out what's causing it. Your business deserves the same approach and it definitely needs it. So before you change careers, change your niche, or give up entirely on your styling career, ask yourself one important question. Why am I feeling this way? Because the solution depends entirely on the cause. So let's look at 5 of the biggest reasons that stylists lose motivation and get those business blues. All right. So, number 1, it's not your business, it's everything else. This is probably the most overlooked reason. Sometimes life is simply life. Perhaps you're caring for your family. Maybe you've had health challenges, financial stress, relationship difficulties, you're moving house, grief, burnout from another job. When we're emotionally exhausted, our business often becomes the easiest thing to blame because it's sitting right in front of us every day and demanding our time and attention. But the business isn't always the cause. Sometimes it's just simply where the symptoms show up. This has been something that has been extremely prominent for me personally over the past year. My mum unexpectedly passed away, and my grief led me to hate pretty much everything in my life, including my business. And I didn't want to show up each day. And I thought about just calling it quits and closing the doors. But I recognize that it's not actually my business that's the problem. It's my grief that's talking. And I have to remind myself of that almost every day. I've also seen many stylists convince themselves they've fallen out of love with styling, only to realize 6 months later, once life had settled down, that they actually loved their work all along. They were just simply carrying too much in their life. So, how do we reignite our passion in these situations? Well, instead of asking, do I still love my business? Ask yourself, would I feel differently if everything else in my life felt lighter? Give yourself permission to be human. Okay. Reduce expectations for a while. Simplify your workload. Focus on only the essential tasks. This has been all I personally have been able to do for the past year. And you know what? I'm not going to be hard on myself for that. Yes, I have plans and I have projects on my to do list that have been stuck there for a year, things that I really wanted to do, but it's just not happening right now. And you know what? That is okay. Your passion doesn't have to disappear forever just because life is hard right now. Sometimes it just needs space to breathe. So make sure you give it that space. Number two, you're simply exhausted. Now, this sounds obvious, right? Yet, so many business owners refuse to believe that it really applies to them. But you've been working evenings, maybe weekends, you've been creating content, answering inquiries, studying, editing photos, posting on social media, networking, learning, marketing, running appointments, then wondering why nothing feels exciting anymore. Well, here's the truth: being tired can make everything feel boring, even the things that we genuinely love. You may really enjoy the creativity of creating lookbooks, but after a busy day when you're feeling exhausted, the thought of having to sit down and create one might feel like a chore, not something you enjoy. So, if this is the situation, how are we going to reignite that passion? Well, first of all, we're going to take a proper break. Not one where you still check your emails. I mean, a proper break where you put on that out of office message and you turn off the notifications on your phone. It's not going to be a break where you spend the time creating Instagram content. It's not going to be a time when you're watching TV and you start color analyzing every actor you see and planning it for your social media marketing. An actual break is what you need. Schedule time away from your business before you think you need it. Plan it. Put it into your schedule. Okay. Rest isn't something that you earn because you're burnt out. It's something that is actually going to prevent the burnout. And then when you return with that fresh energy, you'll often see your business in a whole new invigorated light. All right, number three, you're frustrated because clients aren't coming. Well, this is one that I hear all the time. It's also one that I have personally experienced several times throughout my years in the industry. Okay. I don't enjoy my business. People say it all the time. I just don't enjoy it anymore. But after a little conversation, what they're really saying is, I enjoy styling. I just don't enjoy worrying about where my next client is coming from. These are two very different things. When bookings slow down, confidence usually follows. So you begin questioning everything. Am I good enough? Is anyone actually interested in what I have to offer? Should I lower my prices? Is that why I'm not getting clients? Should I just quit altogether? But the frustration isn't styling. It's the uncertainty. And this is something that every stylist and color analyst will go through no matter how successful they are. So, how are we going to reignite that passion? Well, a quiet month doesn't define your ability or your success. You need to remind yourself of that. Then you want to shift your focus from worrying into action. Embrace the quiet times and start getting some of those things off your to do list and completing some of the tasks that can actually help your business. Maybe it's a great time to update your website. Maybe you could reconnect with previous clients to see if they need your help again. Maybe you could reach out to those local businesses and start making those important connections. Refresh your portfolio, learn a new marketing skill or even a new styling skill. record a helpful video or record a podcast like this, or write a blog. Sometimes motivation follows momentum. You don't wait until you're motivated. You create the movement first. And what you need to remember is every established stylist has experienced quiet periods. It doesn't mean you're failing, it just means you're building. On to number 4. Your business has become too repetitive. Now, this is something that I see quite a lot when it comes to color analysts. You're performing your color consultations one after another after another. It's the same process, the same drape, the same explanations week after week, month after month. Maybe you're doing virtual analysis and you're spending all your day simply staring at photographs and doing one analysis after another after another. Eventually, even work you love can start to feel predictable and you get that Groundhog Day feeling. That doesn't mean you've chosen the wrong career, though. It means your brain is just craving variety or simply a break. The client experience is often the same, but that doesn't mean that you have to be stuck in repetitiveness. You just have to think about what can be different. So, in order to reignite your passion when you're feeling like it's Groundhog Day, challenge yourself. Maybe think about introducing a new service. You could offer color based wardrobe edits or personal shopping. So it isn't just analysis after analysis after analysis. Maybe you could offer corporate workshops and start talking about the power of color, start speaking at networking events. You could even develop some digital products that you can give to your clients, or you could write about color and share your expertise and knowledge. Find something that stretches your skills again. Okay. Sometimes the answer isn't leaving your business, it's actually about expanding it. All right. And then on to number 5. You've built the business you thought you should have. Many stylists build businesses based on what everyone else is doing in order to try and recreate that success for themselves. They may copy another stylist's services, another person's marketing strategies, or another person's idea of success. But before long, they're running a business that they never actually wanted. Maybe you hate working weekends, but you convince yourself that that's what successful stylists do. Maybe you only really wanted to do color analysis, but now you're offering 6 services that you really don't enjoy delivering. Maybe you wanted an online business, but instead you find yourself driving for hours to see clients because you thought that was what you had to do. Eventually, resentment builds. And it's not because you dislike styling or color analysis, but it's because you're living someone else's version of success. You've created somebody else's business, not your own. So, how do we then reignite the passion and change this? Well, first of all, ask yourself this question. If I was starting my business today, knowing everything I know now, what would I build? What would my business look like? Would you offer fewer services? Would you have different working hours? Maybe different clients, a different niche, higher prices? Maybe you want to start doing group workshops, membership, digital products, virtual consultations. There is no rule book. Your business should support the life that you want, and it should not become a prison that you've actually created for yourself. So give yourself permission to redesign it. Businesses evolve. The best ones always do. Where you started from and where you'll end up are not always the same. So if you've noticed something throughout today's episode, it's this. The solution isn't immediately changing careers. It's diagnosing the real problem first. Sometimes you need rest. Sometimes you need better marketing. Sometimes you need more creativity. Sometimes you need to redesign your business. And sometimes you simply need to give yourself grace because life has been difficult. Every one of these situations has a different solution. The mistake is assuming that they all mean it's time to quit and close the doors. So, if you're feeling disconnected from your business right now, I want to leave you with this one final thought. The version of you who started this journey had a reason. There was something about styling, color analysis, image consulting, helping people feel confident, transforming wardrobe, and changing lives that genuinely excited you. Now, that passion may feel buried today, but buried doesn't mean it's gone. Sometimes it simply needs a little rest. Sometimes it needs a new challenge. Sometimes it needs permission to evolve. So before you walk away from your business you've worked so hard to build, pause, get curious, ask yourself what's really causing the blues, because once you understand the cause, you'll usually discover the solution isn't quitting. It's making changes that allow you to fall in love with your business all over again. Well, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. We're going to be taking a few weeks break to recharge and enjoy the summer, but I will be back shortly with season 9 of the Business of Style podcast. I hope you have a wonderful summer, and I can't wait to bring you more helpful tips and guidance to help you take your side hustle to a 6-figure styling business that you love. If you enjoyed today's episode of the Business of Style podcast, then don't forget to hit subscribe so you'll be notified when a new episode is available. And of course, if you're looking for additional training and resources to help you in your career as a personal stylist, then be sure to visit my website, styleacademyintl.com.